As we begin our study on polynomial functions, I will be using many different vocabulary terms that I need you to be familiar with so that when I use them, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. So at the end of this lesson, you'll be able to use vocabulary associated with polynomial functions. All right, first of all, what exactly is a polynomial? We did an activity in class to figure out some characteristics, but now let's just go to a more formal definition. A polynomial is just an expression which is the sum of terms or parts of the form ax to the n. So we have some number times x to a certain power, where n, the power, has to be non-negative, and it also has to be an integer. And so I'm also going to say for integer, just in case you don't remember what that is, no fractions or decimals for the most part. Okay, so some examples. One example of a polynomial would be 3x squared plus 2x plus 6, because notice each part, all of my powers are positive, so none of them are negative, and 2 is a whole number. If I put an exponent here, 1 is a whole number. Notice this one doesn't have an x, so if there's not an x there, it's really just x to the 0, so they all fit the criteria. Another polynomial would be 4x cubed minus 5x, because again there's an invisible one there. Both powers are non-negative and there are no fractions or decimals. And another example might be 5x squared minus 7x, and I guess I'll stop there. And because notice once our powers are fine, so as long as our powers are fine, we have a polynomial. I'm just going to give a couple that are not, just to make sure you have a couple in your notes. One that would not be would be 2x to the 1/2 plus 6x, because we have a fractional exponent and I'm not allowed to have that. Another one that would not be one would be 2x to the -5 plus 7x plus 2, because we are not allowed to have a negative exponent. So that's what the characteristics of a polynomial are. So now we're just going to get into some of the terms that I'll be using. The first one is called the degree of the polynomial. It's basically just the highest power of the terms of the polynomial. Excuse me. Okay, what we are going to do, let me give an example and then I'll show you what the degree is. If I have 5x cubed minus 8x squared plus 2, if I'm looking for the degree, I'm just looking at the powers. So there's a 3, a 2, and if there's no x there, this would have a power of 0. So the highest power is 3, so the degree is just 3. We don't have to write anything other than that with it, just the highest power. The next one, if I had 7x minus 10x to the 4th plus 3x squared. Again, I'm just looking at the powers. This one has a 1, this one has a 4, this one has a 2. 4 is the highest power, so 4 is the degree. Right, the next definition that I will be using is something that's called standard form. It's when terms are placed in descending order from highest degree to lowest degree. All right, and the reason that we would want to do this is because when we're comparing answers with each other, we can tell for sure that that's what's going on. All right, so an example might be if I have, I'll just use that one that's up there, 7x minus 10x to the 4th plus 3x squared. If it asks me to place it in descending order, first of all I'm going to put a 1 on that x. I'm going to start with the highest power, which would be the 4. I'm going to take this whole term and write it first. Notice I even took the negative sign. So negative 10x to the 4. And then the next one that I would do would be the squared. And since it's positive, I'll put plus 3x squared. And then my last one, since this is a positive 7x, I'll put plus 7x. So now that would be in standard form. And I think I will do one more for this one. Well, actually I won't. I'll wait till the next screen and then we'll do that. Okay, the leading coefficient is the coefficient of the first term when the polynomial is written in standard form. All right, so given an example, we're going to write this in standard form and then we'll identify the leading coefficient and the degree of the polynomial. So let's put a 2x to the 5th in that blank. All right, so first thing it says to write it in standard form. So if I look at my powers, I have a 3, a 2, and a 5. My highest power is on this term, so I'm going to bring the whole term with me. It's a positive, so I'll take 2x to the 5th. My next one is going to be x cubed. It's a positive, so I'll put plus x cubed. And then my next term will be minus 4x squared. Okay, so it's in standard form. Then it says to identify the leading coefficient, and we are going to abbreviate that as LC. So my leading coefficient is the number that leads the problem. So the number that's leading the problem now is a 2, so my leading coefficient will be 2. And then the degree, we'll just put over here that that's how we're labeling, shortcutting the degree. The degree is just going to be the highest power, and the highest power was a 5. All right, next one, it says 2x plus 4x squared minus x cubed. So first thing we're going to do is put it in order. This one has a 1 on it. So my highest power is a 3. So notice I'm going to take this whole thing, including the negative. So it's going to be negative x cubed. And then the next one will be a squared, and it's positive. So we'll put plus 4x squared. And then the last one is 2x, and it's also positive. So we'll put plus 2x. All right, the next thing we're going to do is, excuse me, we're going to identify the leading coefficient. The leading coefficient is the number that's leading the problem, and I notice there's not a number that's leading the problem, but I can put a 1 there. So my leading coefficient is actually going to be -1. Notice it's just a number, it's not the actual term. And then the degree was the highest power, which is a 3. All right, the next thing we're going to do is name our polynomials, because when we start to factor, we will want to know the names of these, so it will help us in our factoring process. If a polynomial has one term, we're going to call it a monomial. Just like Monopoly, there's one winner, there's one term. Okay, if a polynomial has 2 terms, it will be a binomial, just like if you have a bicycle has 2 wheels. And then if we have 3 terms, I bet you already guessed it, it is a trinomial, just like a tricycle with 3 wheels. All right, the other part is if something has degree 0, so there's only a number there, we're going to just call it constant. That will not happen very often. If it is degree 1, so this would be like there's just a 3 there. If it's degree 1, it would say like 3x. The highest power is a 1. It is going to be linear, and we've already studied that function family actually. If the degree is 2, it would look like 3x squared, and we will call that quadratic. If something is degree 3, such as 3x to the 3rd, we will call that cubic. And then if the degree is 4, 3x to the 4th, we will call that quartic. All right, so let's see if we can name our polynomials. The first one let's have as 4x cubed minus 2x. What we are going to do in this one, I like to do the monomial, binomial, and trinomial first. I look at how many parts it has. It has 2 parts, or 2 wheels, so we are going to call it a binomial. And then we just need to find out what type of binomial. Since the highest power is a 3, the degree is 3, it will be a cubic binomial. All right, number 4, let's have 2x squared minus 5x plus 2. That 5 is just a page number. It's not really actually part of the problem. All right, so first of all, there are 3 parts. So just like 3 wheels, it's going to be a trinomial. And then the highest power is a 2. So if the highest power is a 2, it is a quadratic trinomial. And then number 5, we will just put 3x to the 4th. Okay, there's only one part, so if it has one part, it is a monomial, and the highest power is a 4, which makes it a quartic monomial. So hopefully now you are familiar with the vocabulary used with polynomials.